Welcome to HornAfrica Insight, your trusted source for East Africa's current affairs. Today we bring you 5 major developments. President Sisi's stern warning on Ethiopia's Grand Renaissance Dam, surprise high-level talks between Somalia and Ethiopia, Eritrea's meeting with Sudan's Prime Minister, President Ruto's vow to transform Nairobi, and an opinion on Egypt-Ethiopia peace over the dam, 5 stories shaping the Horn and beyond. Subscribe, like, and share to stay informed. #HornAfrica Insight. President Abdel Fattah El Sisi delivered a forceful message to Addis Ababa at the 8th Cairo Water Week. Egypt will not tolerate unilateral actions on the Nile and will defend its national interests at all costs. He described water security as existential to Egypt's survival, saying that past unilateral dam operations by Ethiopia have inflicted real harm downstream. Sisi asserted that Egypt clearly and firmly rejects any unilateral measures on the Nile that ignore international norms, arguing such actions threaten basin peace, justice, and the welfare of millions downstream. He called for a legally binding agreement to oversee the Renaissance Dam's filling and operation, insisting that Ethiopia must not act in ways that endanger Egypt or Sudan. The Egyptian leader also described recent flooding incidents as evidence of irresponsible dam management and revived language hinting at military readiness. "We will take all measures necessary to protect our interests." Although he emphasized that dialogue remains the preferred path, the tone marks a shift away from restraint. Behind the rhetoric, Egypt is reportedly mobilizing its civil authorities to prepare for flash floods, reinforcing irrigation canals, and alerting farmers in delta regions. Meanwhile, downstream communities in Sudan have already spoken of crop loss and displacement. Analysts view Sisi's remarks as tactical, to reassert political pressure, rally domestic support, and push for binding governance of Nile waters. The ultimate test will be whether Egypt backs up words with legal or diplomatic action, and whether Ethiopia responds with escalation or negotiation. Can this moment lead to a basin-wide agreement or a deeper confrontation? In an unexpected diplomatic move, Somalia's President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud arrived in Addis Ababa for talks with Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The meeting, unannounced, signals a desire to reset a relationship strained by disputes over sovereignty, Somaliland, and regional alliances. According to Somali sources, the discussion centered on rebuilding mutual trust, advancing security cooperation, and reframing ties around respect and peaceful coexistence. Though official statements were guarded, the visit carries symbolic weight. 2 leaders stepping off script to repair a fragile bond. This engagement arrives at a pivotal juncture. In December 2024, Somalia and Ethiopia signed the Ankara Declaration, mediated by Turkey, to resolve the impasse over Ethiopia's 2024 MOU with Somaliland, which Somalia viewed as infringing its sovereignty. The agreement included commitments to explore diplomatic and commercial pathways, though the underlying disputes remain unresolved. Analysts suggest that Mohamud's surprise visit may be aimed at reclaiming Somali influence in Horn power dynamics. For Ethiopia, it offers a chance to soften regional isolation and reassure neighbors that its Red Sea ambitions need not mean confrontation. The success of this reset depends less on rhetoric and more on follow-through. Whether both sides rebuild institutional mechanisms, restore cooperation in security and trade, and manage sovereignty tensions. If this meeting bears fruit, it could restabilize relations in a volatile region. But if it falls short, it risks reinforcing mistrust. As always, the Horn watches, waits, and wonders which direction the winds will blow. Eritrea's President Isaias Afwerki received Sudan Prime Minister Dr. Kamil Idris in Asmara for high-level discussions on bilateral ties, regional security, and the ongoing conflict in Sudan. The meeting underscores Eritrea's growing role as a regional interlocutor in Horn diplomacy. President Isaias reaffirmed Eritrea's posture, supporting Sudan's territorial integrity, resisting foreign interference, and advocating Sudan-led solutions. He emphasized Eritrea's readiness to facilitate dialogue, humanitarian access, and regional cooperation. PM Idris, for his part, expressed gratitude to Asmara, noting that Eritrea's solidarity has been meaningful during Sudan's crisis. He delivered the greetings of Sudan's Sovereign Council head Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, highlighting that this visit is grounded in deep historic and strategic ties between the two nations. The two sides reportedly elevated their bilateral mechanisms, agreeing to expand joint committees into economic cooperation bodies. They also discussed collaborative oversight of Red Sea corridors, ports, resource exploitation, and security measures favorable to both coastal states. This is significant, given that both Eritrea and Sudan border the Red Sea and share overlapping interests in maritime access and trade flows. Eritrea's involvement in mediating or influencing Sudan peace initiatives is closely watched. While Khartoum grapples with conflict among factions, foreign proxies, and humanitarian crises, Eritrea's proximity and networks make it a potentially consequential player in shaping outcomes. But with risks of external actors and local spoilers, the durability of Asmara's leverage remains uncertain. As the Sudan war evolves, the Eritrea-Sudan nexus may prove to be one of the critical fault lines or bridges in Horn diplomacy. Will this visit translate into concrete relief, alliance, and influence, or end as another symbolic stop in a region plagued by rivalry? With the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam now operational and critical tensions escalating, some analysts argue that Cairo's only realistic path forward is peace, not confrontation. The dam is no longer one side's fantasy, it is a regional reality. Egypt must adapt. Militarily, Egypt faces constraints, economic pressure, political expectations, regional overreach, and the risk of international blowback. A major confrontation over GERD could backfire. Diplomatically, Cairo's window for leverage is narrowing, especially with Ethiopia signaling its intention to maximize its hydropower and development. The strategic alternative: acknowledge the dam as an irreversible fact, then negotiate a cooperative governance regime. This arrangement would allow continued downstream safeguards, monitoring, minimum releases, dispute arbitration, while granting Ethiopia flexibility to operate and export electricity. The compromise lies in converting zero-sum conflict into shared benefit. Such peace would protect Egypt's interests while preserving its dignity. It would signal to the Nile Basin that growth and security can be balanced, reducing the chances of future escalation. The challenge lies in designing a credible, enforceable basin agreement that maintains trust, transparency, and dispute mechanisms. If Egypt accepts this path, it may shift from adversary to basin partner, remodeling the regional narrative. But the risk remains. Should Cairo reject compromise in favor of ultimatums, it may lose moral, legal, and diplomatic capital it cannot easily regain. In an era of interdependence, permanence lies not in force, but in framework. Kenyan President William Ruto, speaking on October 12, 2025, launched an ambitious campaign to transform Nairobi into a model global city. With frustration mounting over poor infrastructure, waste, and disorder, he declared, "Nairobi cannot remain a city in filth." He announced a partnership between the national government, Nairobi County, and the private sector to clean up the city. Key initiatives include rehabilitating the Nairobi River, expanding drainage, improving street lighting, clearing drainage slums, and modernizing waste collection systems. The plan is positioned not just as aesthetic, but as foundational to economic growth and tourism appeal. Ruto emphasized that Nairobi must reflect Kenya's ambition. He pledged to mobilize resources and political will. He also proclaimed a long-term vision. By 2055, Kenya will transition from third world to first world if unity and action guide its direction. He appealed across party lines to embrace the transformation. Nairobi residents, weary of broken roads, overflowing trash, persistent floods, and inefficient services, received his remarks with cautious optimism. Observers note the obstacles ahead: bureaucratic overlap, entrenched interests, funding deficits, and coordination with multiple agencies. If Ruto's promise yields visible results, new roads, clean waterways, safer streets, it could become a flagship success of his presidency. If not, it may deepen public cynicism about leadership and delivery in urban Africa. From Cairo's Nile warning to Nairobi's urban ambitions, the Horn of Africa remains a theater of tension and transformation. If you found value in this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on X for instant updates. Thanks for watching Horn Africa Insight, where East Africa's stories are told with clarity and consequence.